We're gonna do some crafts today. Here in the kitchen we're going to play. I build crafts and you can too. There's so many things we can learn and do. Hey there, I'm Lexi and this is my kitchen. I'm the teaching artist for music with Oz School Days, and I love making music with you guys. But today I'm going to show you a really fun craft that you can use for all sorts of things at home. And we'll get a little messy doing it, but it'll be really fun. So let me show you around before we get started. We have all of our artwork on the fridge. We really, really love ice cream, and we really, really love spicy foods. Sometimes we even make our own magnets and hang up our own artwork. And over here, we have our live studio audience. These guys are made out of clay. This is Jinx. Jinx, say hi. This is Lewis. We're actually gonna make some Play-Doh today, and these are our ingredients. So we're gonna need flour, salt, water, hot or cold, and food coloring, and liquid or gel works either way. So what helps us out in the kitchen is having measuring cups. It kind of does the work for us. But if you're unfamiliar with fractions and measuring things, this is a great introductory way to look at it. So for our first ingredient, flour, we'll need 1 full cup. Now basically you're just going to take this guy, scoop it in there, and get this thing really full, heaping full, and then dump it into your mixing bowl. Before the second ingredient, salt, you're actually going to need 1/2 cup. Now the difference between a whole cup and 1/2 cup is the size. So basically if you took this whole cup, divided it in half, then you'd have a 1/2 cup.
Let's say that this represents a whole cup. Now if we wanted to do a 1/2 cup, what would we do? Right, we would cut that in half. Right, so now instead of a whole cup, you have 2 halves. Now let's say you needed an even smaller measurement, like a 1/4 cup. Basically, you would think about this whole again, but instead of just dividing it in half, you're going to divide it into quarters. So you're going to cut it one more time. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts here. So basically, you have a whole cup, a 1/2 cup, and then if you divided all these parts and thought about them individually, this would be 1/4.
Alright, so for this craft, to make Play-Doh, you're going to need to have all of your materials together. And then lastly, a bag, just if you're going to keep this Play-Doh a little bit longer than 1 day. Alright, let's get started. So first, you're just going to want to go ahead and get your flour open. You might want to have a parent help you get all of that flour in there. Alright, so now you have 1 cup of flour. Next, you're going to get your salt. And we're going to do 1/2 cup of salt and fill this all the way to the top, and then dunk it in. Next, you're going to go ahead and grab your fork. You're going to want to mix together the flour and the salt first before you add in the water. Alright, this is the second part. I've gone ahead to add the water in. It's pretty goopy, and once you get all that water in there, you're just going to go ahead and start mixing it all up. Alright, so at this point, now that you have these 3, you're going to make a little indentation because the next step is adding in the food coloring. You just want a little spot where you can deposit all of that coloring so that it doesn't run off onto the sides. So now that you've got a hole for each of those colors, you pick one. I'm gonna do a blue one, red, and green. So we'll see what happens. So once you take this top off right here, you're going to just do about 3 to 4 drops at the most. So 1, 2, 3. I'll do 3 drops of blue. And if you don't want these to get mixed up as far as colors, make sure you get all the caps back on, separate those and mix them individually. So you have one here, one there for the red, and then last but not least you have your green. We'll just do 2 drops, we'll do 2 drops of green. Alright, now it's mixing time. And for you guys, if your counters are very easy to stain, you might want to put down like a paper towel or something like plastic wrap that you can tape to the counter, just to kind of keep the mess off the counter so we don't get in trouble. So you're just going to kind of knead it around and squish it and get all that color mixed in. You'll start to see little bits and pieces come through. And you're just going to kind of keep mixing. And if it's still looking spotty after a while, then you can add in more color. But you're just kind of going to knead it. So you're going to take it, push it forward, and then bring it back. Push it forward, bring it back. And as you can see, as you're doing this, it incorporates all of the color. So yeah, we did it. So now that you have these doughs made, you can play with these by like making different shapes, and I'll show you some other stuff that you can do with them in the next section right here. But if you want to save these for later, or play with them a little bit and then store them, that's where our bag comes in here. You can put these in a Ziploc bag just to retain the moisture, and these can last up to about a week on average, and that's just because these are made out of perishable items like flour. Now we have the dough and it's saved, and again, just as a review, this stuff expires, so you're going to want to play with it as long as you can. Usually it lasts about a week, and you save it in a Ziploc bag so it retains moisture. But now to the next part, we can actually take this dough and bake it in the oven. When you bake things in the oven, basically it will harden, so you can keep those things for as long as you'd like to, because they're not really going to expire because they're going to be hard. It's something you can keep. For the next part, you're just going to need your dough. And I've got some yarn or string, because 2 of the things you could do is perhaps making something like little game pieces or things you can count with, or you can even make a necklace. So let me show you. Over here, we have all of our doughs out again, but I've also added a little rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin though, you can use a glass at your house or something else that's round so you can roll these doughs out. I also have cookie cutters. You can have a parent use a knife with you as far as making shapes, or you could just all do it by hand like you would with any fun Play-Doh. So over here, we have our pan to bake. You're going to want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 250 degrees because we're going to bake these for about 10 minutes. So I have a little heart cookie cutter because I'm going to make a necklace. So basically, I'm going to use the pink dough to make my necklace. You're going to want to take something, maybe like a pencil, something you can poke a hole with, so that there is a spot where you can lace the yarn through later. So the dough is really soft, so you're just going to make a little hole like that. And now you're set. So you can take this and put it on the baking sheet. I'm actually going to use a lot of this extra dough to make tic-tac-toe pieces. Now you could do those with heart shapes too, or you could cut out different shapes that you like. I'm going to use the blue for some of the pieces. And I'll use the green for some of the other pieces. You could do an X. You can press into the clay. And now you have your X. Alright guys, so now we're at the part where we are at the oven. Everything over here is preheated. All of our pieces are laid out. I even have a little clay piece that looks like Lewis. I have my heart necklace over here. And I have our tic-tac-toe pieces. Make sure that you have your oven mitts on, and we're going to just slide these in. Now we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. Some ovens might take longer, so you parents might have to leave them in for like 15 minutes instead of 10. It kind of just depends on the thickness of your dough as well as your oven cooking temperature. But when you're finished, you can do all sorts of cool stuff like this. You've got your tic-tac-toe board here. We've got a really cool necklace. That's where the yarn comes in. So you basically put a hole in the heart and then you tie that yarn to it and you have a really cool necklace. And then we have our little Louie over here. So he's pretty cool. The clay version. So now you have all sorts of really cool stuff that you can do at home. You can play tic-tac-toe, you can make jewelry. You can also use these things to count and do fractions and any other sort of math work. But there's always something really cool you can do with Play-Doh because you can make and create and destroy and make it again. I hope you had fun making some crafts today. We'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Bye.